Hey everybody, welcome to this new Let's Play where Solaris Ray is gonna play Rimworld in a fight against fighting the zombie infestation. That's right, it's a new playthrough where the objective what we're gonna do is to try to fight a zombie infection that is propagating in the planet that we are on to a massive proportion. So this Let's Play, it's a little bit junction to the previous playthrough that I've done, which is more a crossplay with the Shortest Trip to Earth and Rimworld. If you haven't watched it, I invite you to check it out. I will put a link or in the video, like a notification. But the idea of this Let's Play is to dig a little bit more in Rimworld because I really appreciate playing in Rimworld. And I felt like, well, like I want to see more of Rimworld. I want to explore a little bit the mods and what we can do. And the idea that I came out is literally to fight the zombie infection. Now, I know what you're going to say because obviously there are already some, zombie infestation survival in YouTube. Some people have done it, obviously, but what we're gonna try to do differently in this mod is to be a little bit more realistic in the way that the zombies are going to be managed, and we're going to have some very clear goals what we're going to need to achieve. And our goal is to eradicate the zombie infection. So I will get that I will get into the goals and the achievement a little bit later. But what I want to express in this Let's Play, it's okay. 3 pawns, 3 survivors with their own backstory. So I'm going to get a little bit more into it in this episode. Trying to survive in this planet and to find a cure to fight zombie infection and to a planetary scale, right? So this episode, it's gonna be more presentation of the world, presentation of the character, presentation of the playthrough, presentation of the goals that we're gonna try to achieve in order to see if we can succeed in the playthrough. So if you're not necessarily interested in the world explanation, in the character's background, etc., you can skip that video and go straight to the next one. But in this video, I will explain the goals what we're going to try to achieve in order to fight the zombie infection. Okay, so I really invite you to stick to these videos because this video will help you explain what we're going to do for the entire playthrough. So the first thing that I'm going to cover in this video is the goals, the mods, the zombie infection, what we're going to do, and what is our objective in order to fulfill the playthrough. Okay, so there are many mods in this playthrough. Even in the Shortest Trip to Earth crossplay with Rimworld, I used quite a few mods. In this one, I think there is something like, I don't know, don't quote me on that, but something like 80 or 83 different mods. I will put the description of those mods in the description section. So if you're interested or if you want to play the same playthrough that I'm doing, you can reproduce the same package, the mod package. And also I'm using a specific seed in this world, is the Oasis seed. So you can also use the Oasis seed because there is a mod that I'm using that it will be in the description, but it allows to see other players basement that they abandoned in that seed and seed in the planet. So I think that's pretty cool. So I put it that mod. And the mod that we're gonna play with for the zombie infection is gonna be Zombieland. So Zombieland is a pretty popular zombie mod in Rimworld, and I think there is a lot to this mod, and this is what we're gonna play around. The storyteller that we have is the Sergeant. We are playing with the crash landed scenario. So nothing really special there, except that we're going to start off with 2 Timber Wolves. So I will get more into that with the backstory of our characters. But I'm going to show you a little bit the criteria of the Zombieland in here. So as you can see, the zombies will come when it's dark. that will spawn at the edge of the map. They can attack all creatures. The enemies can attack zombies. The animals can attack zombies too. It's more realistic. The zombies can attack anything or try to destroy anything that is built. They will have normal senses. They can recover from injuries, so it's not good enough to injure the zombies. You need to kill them, otherwise they can restore themselves and be back to 4 hit points. They will also be able to feed on injured creatures and corpses. And here is where the things interesting is going to start, right? So when we're going to start the playthrough, we're going to have special zombies from the get-go. As you can see, there's 10% chances because there's 5 different types of special zombies. Each have 2%, so that's 10% chance that we're going to spawn special zombies. Even if there they say 92% for ordinary zombies, but they're technically supposed to be 10%. Anyway, so from the get-go, we are going to have special zombies. We're going to have suicide zombies, toxic zombies, tanky zombies, mining zombies, electrifying zombies. And the rest are going to be ordinary zombies. So that's the first thing. The second thing, we're going to have 1,000 zombies at a time in the screen. Okay? And 20 zombies per colonist will spawn when the zombie attack or whatever will arise. Okay, now what's gonna make this playthrough particular is the conditions. Okay, so what's gonna happen is every new month the difficulty is gonna increase. I'm gonna increase the difficulty of Zombieland progressively, and how I'm gonna do it is gonna be very precise, which is every new month. If we haven't done anything specific to fight the infection, it's going to be an increase. So we're going to increase the special zombies, each special zombies by 2%, an extra 2%. So it's going to be from 2%, from 4% for each of them. So that's going to be 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%, 4% for the next month. And the month after is going to be 6%. And the month after that is going to be 8%. So as you can see, it's going to be very quickly. The proportion of special zombie against ordinary zombie is going to increase. It's going to make the playthrough way more difficult. We're going to have 3 days before the zombies spawn, but that's okay. Also, the number of maximum zombies on the map is going to progress, right? It's going to progress by 200 zombies per month. So every month, the number of maximum zombies is going to increase by 200 every single month. And the number of zombie colonists, the ratio of zombies per colonist is going to increase by 20 every month. So that means that not only the number of maximum zombies is going to increase at the screen, but the speed at which the zombies are going to be generated is going to increase as well. And as you can see, this is going to be a real challenge because we are not going to have just normal zombies that can only attack doors or things like that. No, they're going to be able to dig. We're going to have mining zombies. We're going to have, explosive zombies. They're going to be able to attack walls. So even if I construct, steel walls and things like that, we are not safe. We are never going to be 100% safe. Okay. And that's the thing of this playthrough, right? The only way to be safe is to fight the infection 100%. Okay, so how are we going to do this, you're going to say? Because all right, every month the difficulty of the mod is going to increase, but what can you do about it to win? Because if you do nothing about it, you're going to lose immediately. It's going to be too hard, and you're right. So the idea here is to use the serum. So in Zombieland, if you have a doctor, you have the possibility to use their medical skills to extract from the zombies serum. And the zombie serum, if the doctor applied to someone that is bitten, will heal automatically, okay, from the infection. So the idea is to be able to collect zombie serums from the zombies, all right? And if I reach a certain quantities, I can then store it for ourselves, you know, to protect ourselves if our two biological characters get beaten. But most importantly is to be able to use that serum to spread, to send it to other colonies. And when I do so, that means that it will help fight the infection, and I will be able to reduce the difficulty or a specific criteria of the Zombieland proportional to how much serum I sent. Okay, so it's going to be very specific, and I will put that in the description below. And I'm thinking as well, I will put an overlay with the different, with where we stand, and with the percentage with the different zombies, the maximum zombies on the screen, the ratio zombie per colonist as well. And also the amount of serum that I have, the amount of serum that I spread, I will put that in that overlay there. So like that, we can see where we stand. And like that, when I change a new month, I know that I need to increase the difficulty and update the overlay so we can follow through with the month. But the idea is this. In order for me to reduce the number of zombies, for example, from 1200 to 1000, I'm going to need to be able to send 200 serum to another colony. All right. So that means that I'm going to need to research the technology of sending pods to other towns, or I can even use caravans and send caravans to other towns to provide them the serum, to give it as a gift. And that will allow me to reduce the number of zombies maximum on the screen by 200. Okay, but I need to do it by I can only modify it by 200. So that means that every month the number of maximum zombies can increase by 200. But if I send 200 serum to a specific town, then I can decrease it by 200. Okay, but if I have 150, I cannot decrease it by 150, right? It's increment by 200. The second thing is if I want to reduce the percentage, right, from 2%, like let's say for example, the next month all this increased by 2%, so it's 4%, right? Then if for me, like I can reduce a specific type of zombie by 2%, but I need to send 100 serum to a specific town. So it's more expensive to reduce a specific zombie type than reduce the maximum number of zombies, right? That being said, there is a caveat. If I want to reduce the number of zombies underneath 1000, then I'm gonna need to provide 1000 serums to reduce it from 1000 to 200, from 1000 to 750. I will need to provide 5000 serum to reduce it from 750 to 500, and I'm gonna need to provide 10,000 serum from 500 to 250, and finally I'm gonna need to provide 20,000 serums for providing from 250 to 0. But if I put 0 here, that means we've beaten the mode and we won the playthrough, right? It's finished. So this is the thing. So 1000 is the minimum number of zombies that I can have at the screen at any given time. And if it increase above that, then I can reduce it by 200. But if I want to go underneath 1000 zombies, I'm gonna need to provide way more serums. Okay, like something like 1,000 serums for 250, 5,000 serums for 500 zombies, 10,000 serum for 250, and 20,000 serum for zero zombies, right? And that's how we know that we're gonna beat the mod. That's how we know that we won the playthrough. So as you can see, it's a pretty big challenge, right? So that's a very big challenge. And another thing as well that is pretty important, it's this is going to increase as well. So the ratio zombie per colonist is going to increase by 20 for every month. So that means that the next month, instead of having 20 zombies per colonist, it's going to be 40 zombies per colonist. And the month after is going to be 60 zombies per colonist. But if I want to reduce that value, I can provide 200 serums to a specific town, and then that will allow me to reduce that from, 40 to 20, right? But I cannot reduce it from 20 to 0, okay? Because otherwise, the only way, because if I do that, then it's not gonna pop the zombies, right? So the only way to beat the mod is to have this number equal at 0. Okay, that's the only way. What else? Yes, another also very important criteria for the playthrough is I cannot send. So if I want a specific benefit, right? So if I want to reduce, for example, this special zombie by 2%, I will need to send 100 serum to a specific town, but I cannot, like, if I want to have, for example, 2 zombies reduced, right, by 2%, then I gonna need to send it to 2 different towns. I cannot take one town and send 800 serum and say, oh yeah, gotta send 800 serum to a specific town, and then I'm gonna be able to reduce all this and that. No, for each specific benefit, is gonna need to be another town. Okay, very important. And I cannot send more than 1,000 serum to a specific town. All right, that's another thing. So if, for example, I want to, when I will go from 1,000 to 750 zombies, that's 1,000 serum, so that I can send to one town. But after that, from 750 to 500, I'm gonna need to provide 5,000 serums, and that will require me to send it to 5 towns, right? And 10,000 serum is gonna be 10 towns, and 20,000 serum is gonna be 20 towns. And also another thing is, like, if I send serum to a specific town during the month, I cannot resend serum to that town until the next month, right? So if I look at the map, at the world map, we will see where we spawn. So you're going to be able to see the oasis seed, right? And on that, we're going to see where there's going to be factions. And I will be able to send, here you go, I will be able to send the serum to the specific factions, okay? And each faction that I'm going to be able to send it to, I will be able to have one benefit. And I cannot send it more than once per month, and not more than 1,000 serum in a month, okay? So that means that I will need to send it further and further and further away. Now, that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to send it to allies. I can send it also to enemies. It doesn't matter. What we are finding in this playthrough, it's not necessarily we're not necessarily fighting enemy factions or things like that. What we are fighting is infection, okay? And it doesn't necessarily matter if they are enemies or allies. When they are dead, they're all gonna become zombies, right? So our purpose is to fight the infection. But that being said, as you can see, if I need to send the serum to 20 different towns, I don't have enough. I'm gonna need to spread it further away. So part of the thing there is, like, I'm gonna be able to ship, with drop ship the goods, but maybe it would be more beneficial for us to construct a spaceship and to go in orbit and construct an orbital research station where we can dispatch the serums to further towns. Okay, so that's definitively on the table. So that's the idea of the playthrough. So it's I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be challenging, and if we look there, I personally think that I don't necessarily need to have the storyteller to be in a crazy difficulty, because trust me, Zombieland is pretty difficult, right? Zombieland, like, if you don't turn the things down and it get more and more, and the zombies can destroy anything, anywhere, etc., it's challenging, right? You don't necessarily need to have crazy raids and things like that, because on top of that, what I saw from other playthroughs real quick, It's like if, for example, you have a base and you manage to survive and to keep the zombies at bay. If you get raided, then it just makes your playthrough easy, because guess what? The raiders are gonna fight the zombies. So the zombies are, the raids are gonna be beaten by the zombies. And even if the raid managed to pass through the zombies, they're gonna be weakened by the zombies anyway, which is gonna make your life easy, right? So it's that's one aspect of it. And the second aspect of it, as I said, like, I think that it's going to be challenging enough to fight the zombies, like a real world wide infection of zombies that can actually destroy our base, like can dig into the mountains and all that stuff, is already threatening enough. I don't need to be in merciless, crazy storyteller in top of that, right? Maybe if we survive that playthrough, then we can think about it. But for the previous tests that I've done, because this is my third attempt, no joking, it's already pretty difficult. Okay, it's very difficult already and very challenging. So hopefully you guys are gonna be liking that playthrough. Now let's talk a little bit more about our characters, because as you can see, there is Mary, Zelda, and James. Okay, now I just want to have a quick look. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so there is a relationship between our three characters, and they have a backstory. So first things first, let me introduce you to Zelda. So Zelda is gonna be our ranger, right? He's extremely good with animals. As you can see, he's an animal lover, he's an animal friend, and he's pretty good with a gun, right? He's 16 in shooting, because he's a veteran soldier and a child spy, right? He's also pretty decent with plants, good with animals, obviously, and he's also decent socially, okay? So he's gonna be the ranger, the explorer, the face of the party, and he's also gonna be the trader, right? So he's gonna be the social interaction, and he's gonna play a very critical role, because as you can see, we have the fog of war, okay? And the map is pretty big, right? I made it so it's pretty big, and we are playing with the fog of war. So it's gonna be pretty difficult, because when the zombies are gonna attack, I'm not necessarily gonna be able to see beyond what my pawns can see, or maybe beyond what surveillance camera can see, right? So that's gonna be interesting. For saying the least. So I'm gonna need to have Zelda going in the wild, exploring, seeing where the resources are, and so we can have a plan and extract those resources. For example, like if we need steel, we need plastic, we need components, whatever, we're gonna need to find it on the map. Like I don't necessarily know what is the best spot here, right, to make the base. I have no idea. Okay. So that's why it's going to be the explorer ranger. And that's the reason why we have two wolves. One that is Faye, which is the female, and the other one is going to be Marco, the male, because they are Zelda's pet, right? And as I say, he's a ranger, so he is the one training them. And the idea is to use Giddy-up, which is a mod in Rimworld that allow you to mount the animals, etc., in order to explore, in order to fight, right? So using the animals in this playthrough is going to be pretty critical, because there is a fair amount of animals in this map, and if they can help us fight the zombies, that would be good. That would give us more mobility, and also it may be a good option to travel quickly for caravans until I can have drop ships that can provide serums to the other town. Maybe before I can have that, it's gonna be Zelda going in different towns, providing the serum and coming back, right? And it would be faster if they can have if you can have animals that can make the trip quicker. So that's that aspect. And also the pawns have relationship between each other. So Zelda and Mary, right? Mary Curie, they were husbands and wives, but they divorced. Okay. So the story, the backstory of the characters is that they were working in an orbital research station in orbit of Oasis, okay, with the planet Oasis. And the researchers there were working on a new gene to try to improve the human experience. And unfortunately, it turned very poorly and it transformed itself into an infection that spread through the space station, and the space station had to be evacuated, and since it had been compromised, it has been destroyed, and that's why they were stranded in Oasis, which is the planet at which the space station is orbiting around. So Mary was one of the researchers on the station, and she was looking into trying to create that genetically modified virus to improve the humans, right? To make them stronger, etc. It's pretty close to Resident Evil, right? But you know, some other researchers made things on the virus that they shouldn't, and it mutated into that very dangerous disease that spread into the station, and that's how it got compromised. But originally on the station, there were animals also for doing the experiments, and that's where Sander comes into play. He was the one taking care of the animals, and also he was acting as a ranger on the station to take care of the zoo of animals where we're going to make experiments. But he also had animals to helping police, making the police in the station, right? So it was actually a real ranger, right? And Sander and Mary divorced, but they were affected in the same station. So they had some kind of problems in their couple, and that's a little bit because of James, right? Because Mary, as you can see, she is intellectual, very good at medical, of course, and crafting, and she created James. So she considered James as her son, right? Or a child, or whatever you want to call it. And part of the reason why Sander and Mary got separated is because she was absorbing her work with the virus, and beyond that, she was constructing, you know, as the perfect son for her, instead of taking care of a relationship with Sander. And Sander, you know, had enough of that, because he said, like, why are you constructing a son? We can have a son on our own, right? And but yeah, like, there are reasons by that Mary didn't say to Sander, so there's an entire backstory behind that. But they got divorced, but James was constructed by Mary, and James considered Mary as her creator, aka kind of mother, right? And Mary considered James as her son, and Sander and Mary is ex-husband and wives, right? So that's the relationship that they have. But so Mary takes care of James. James takes care of his two pets, which is Faye and Marco. And they're gonna try to survive together in that world. And even if they were ex-husband and wives, they were, you know, having compartment relatively close from each other. And when they when the station was compromised, Sander, you know, even if it's his ex-wife, still have some feelings for her and wanted to make sure that she was safe, and managed to make sure that they extracted from the space station safe and sound with the pets, with James, and that's why they landed in Oasis. Okay, so we will see if there is conflicts between Mary and Sander, and how the relationship between Sander and James is gonna evolve and all that stuff. But we can see this with relationship. As you can see, Sander consider Marie Curie as his ex-wife, and James as a friend, right? Or an acquaintance, not necessarily as his son. Whereas Mary, she considers Sander as her ex-husband and James as her son, right? And James considers Marie Curie as her mother, but he considers Sander as an acquaintance, okay? Which is perfect, right? This is exactly where I wanted to get to in this playthrough. Okay, so those are the parameters the relationship between the pawns. I spoke about their backstory. And also, okay, let me show the skills. So I already saw show you a little bit the skills of Mary, but as you can see, she's very intelligent and she's also an inventor. So she's going to be our researcher, medical doctor, trying to fight the disease. So she's going to be at the center of fighting the disease, extracting the serums, doing the research to develop the turrets, power, and all that stuff. So she's going to be absolutely critical as well, right? And James, well, James is going to be interesting because he is a constructor, right? He is a constructor. So he's pretty good in construction. He's pretty good in crafting. He's decent with animals. He's pretty decent in mining, but he's not very good in medical, social, and all that stuff. But as you can see, he's industrious. So he's going to be able to work pretty quickly. He's a quick sleeper. So Mary conceived him as to be efficient as well. And to help her in the task that she couldn't necessarily do herself because she wanted to focus more on research. So she made sure that James is constructed in a way that he doesn't necessarily need to sleep as much as other androids, right? He's very efficient in terms of energy management. And actually, he may need to sleep only 4 hours instead of 8 hours. So that's pretty cool. And it's also tough. Now, why is that the case? Because James is, is not very good in shooting, but he's fairly decent in melee. And if you think about it, what Mary had in mind is like, okay, well, James is going to be able to help her craft things. But if she needs a bodyguard, it would be good for her if she can rely on James, right? So she provided him some programmation to defend her, especially knowing that Zelda and her was going to divorce. She said, like, well, I'm not going to have a husband to protect me anymore, so it would be nice if my android can help me with that. So she taught her how to program her to have minimum of defense melee-wise. And also, when you think about it, James is an android, and androids cannot be affected by the plague. So, and it's very useful when you are playing a survival zombie playthrough to have a character that can defend melee-wise against some of the zombies, because especially in the mud, there are zombies, the electrifying one, that are absolutely terrible for range, right? So those ones, Sander are not going to be very good at, right? Because he can shoot them as much as he wants. The zombies are not going to be affected that much by range attacks. So the best way to deal with them is melee, right? And there are also some situations where, for example, it's fighting tanky zombies. We could potentially do more damage in melee. Same for mining zombies. Sometimes if they are mining through the base, that would be more or less in melee. And depending on which room there will be, and it would be more or less difficult to kite them. So that's why it's good to have ways to deal with zombies physically. And, it just makes sense to use an android in that instance, right? Because they can be affected. And also in the same line of bodyguard kind of preset, she reinforced its skin with additional layers of metal and plasteel, which made him, harder. So if James can have access to decent armor or power armor or things like that, it would be pretty hard to kill, right? And that's going to be very valuable, because I can tell you in the previous playthrough that I've done, what I've attempted, when the zombies come in your base and you're being swarmed, it's very useful to have someone that can be decent in melee, right? So here you go. So that's their skill sets, their background, where they're coming, where they are coming from. So as you can see, Marie Curie is a space doctor and an angry student. That's her background, the backstory, which fits the situation in the station. And yeah, so I think I didn't miss anything. I talked about the mod, I talked about the goals, I talked about the pawns and their skills and their backstory. I will put the description of the mods in the link below. Maybe last thing that I wanted to touch base before I end this video is the Zombieland again. So if we look at the Zombieland for the treatment, so that's pretty important. As you can see, the turrets will not have any consumption reduction, so it's gonna be difficult in that lab because we're gonna have to replace them or maintain them pretty frequently. But in top of that, as you can see, if the biologicals get infected, right, if they're being beaten by the zombies, they are going to be infected 100% of the time, right? There's no 50-50% chance. If you are beaten, you are infected. Okay, so that and that's why I put that 0. The time until infection is known is 0, because if they are being beaten, they are infected. So there's no point keeping the suspense. But what I've done, therefore, is the time to treat the infection is 3 days. Okay, so we will have more time before the infection takes place. Also, what I've done is to change a little bit the time that we're gonna have, because by default you only have 1 hour to extract the serum zombie, but there I put it at 4 hours, right? I don't want to put it at 8 hours because once we'll have 1,000 zombies plus in the screen and all that stuff, if you have a lot of dead corpses plus zombies, like it can create a lot of things for the game to manage. So, but at the same time, 1 hour is not long enough, because when we are fighting for our lives and there's many zombies, it can take more than an hour in the battle, and then all the zombies that you kill, that they spawn before you even have a chance to extract the zombies. I think personally that 4 hours is a good compromise. It's not gonna allow to have too many corpses, but it's gonna at least provide us a chance for our doctors to extract the zombies. Now, as you can think, to be able to provide 100 serums, 200 serums, or even 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 serums, we're gonna need to farm zombies, right? We're gonna need that. And I was also gonna look in the mod. I think there is maybe a way as well to fabricate or manufacture serum zombies, right? So we can look into that, but we definitely gonna need to have if I think there is a way to fabricate the serum, but even if there isn't any, or if it's not practical, then we can actually harvest the zombies. And that's why it's gonna be tactical, right? Like, because if I'm at a point in a game where I can't afford to have a lot of zombies at the screen, then my focus would be to reduce that and to reduce the number of zombie colonies that will pop at once, to keep that number low. But if I'm in a situation where I can manage them and I want to farm them, then I'm gonna need to reduce the amount of special zombies, because what I want is to farm them, and it would be easier for me to farm them if I just ordinary zombies and to just let them come into a kill box and to kill them all, right? And to extract the serums quickly, so we can use that zombie serum to fight the infection, right? So we're gonna need to have a tactical approach on how we're gonna manage the mod, and how we're gonna most importantly manage the infection, because this mod, as I said, it's all about fighting the zombie infection. Okay, and we will win the playthrough when this number will reach 0. But for that, we're gonna need to have 1,000 plus 5,000, so that's 6,000, plus 10,000, so that's 16,000, plus 20,000, so that's 36,000 serums, right? And if possible, all that's gonna have to be done in the same month. So that means that we're gonna need to spread the serum more or less in the same month or within 2 months towards 36 towns, right? So, but that's how we're gonna be able to justify where we vanquish the infection. Like we will spread the serum so quick and so fast that the zombie infection will not be able to spread anymore. Most of the population of the planet will be immune to it, and the infection will die, and then we will manage to fight the infection. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed the concept. I hope that you will enjoy the playthrough. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. That will really help the channel, and please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell and mention that you want to be notified every time that I put a video online, so like that when I put a new video of the playthrough. And if you have any suggestions about the zombies, the zombie mod, what we can do about it, or the construction and all that stuff, feel free to put it in the comment section below. I would really love to see your commentary. But keep in mind that what I would do for this series, I will try to play a few episodes ahead, because I already played something like 2 or 3. This is my third attempt, so I already played 2 attempts, and it was extremely difficult. So I made some tweaks here and there. So for the first videos, you may put the comment, and I already play it, but I will still look at the comments, and I will use the comments that you will put in the videos to influence the future ones, right? So don't worry, I read all your comments. And the other thing that I wanted to say is I will begin for this playthrough to take the name of my subscribers and to select your name randomly and to use them for new puns, new pets, etc. Right? Now, if you put a comment in the videos, I will select the pool of name that I will use it from. I will use it from the people living in the comments. So if you're a subscriber and you leave a comment, I will select your name first, okay? To put it in there. Now, another thing as well, if for example you have any suggestions on the buildings or all that stuff, or mods or questions about the mods or whatever, feel free to put it in the comment section. I really want the playthrough to be interactive between you and I want us to have fun, okay? Because that's the purpose of the playthrough, to challenge ourselves, to do something fun, and to learn things together, and to have a good time. All right, so I hope that you're gonna have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next video.